What if I told you that Ferrari is about to completely change the course of Formula One? Or sink forever? The secrets of the 2026 car have been leaked, and what Ferrari is doing with the 678 project could be the biggest technical risk in its modern history. Are they really about to revolutionize F1? Or are they digging their own grave? After the resounding failure of the 2025 season, where Ferrari failed to win a single race, the atmosphere in Maranello changed radically. It was more than just a bad year. It was an internal wake-up call that forced the most iconic team in Formula One to rethink everything from the roots. These were not just strategic errors or reliability problems. It was the painful realization that, despite decades of history, almost unlimited resources, and two elite drivers in Leclerc and Hamilton, Ferrari was no longer in a position to compete for real titles. Faced with this scenario, the technical management of the Scuderia made an unprecedented decision in the hybrid era, canceling the development of the car for the current season, the SF25, just in April. That is to say, just a few races before the start of the championship, the team decided to throw in the towel. They willingly sacrificed every opportunity to compete, improve, or aim for podiums in 2025. All for one reason: to build the following year's car, the SF26, also known internally as Project 678, from scratch. Internally, the team divided resources, assigned specific research areas, and established millimeter coordination between the engine, chassis, and aerodynamics departments. The entire structure revolved around Project 678. And with this, Ferrari's internal culture was also redefined. It is no longer about evolving what they have, but about destroying to build again. What is fascinating and terrifying at the same time is that there is no turning back. There is no plan B. If SF26 fails, there will be no interim release or mid-season fix. It will be a total failure with unpredictable consequences for the Scuderia. Because this time, Ferrari has bet absolutely everything. Within the walls of the Maranello factory, far from the cameras and headlines, Ferrari has been developing one of the most risky and revolutionary bets in its recent history. An engine designed to break with convention, to challenge decades of technical tradition in Formula One. The centerpiece of this concept is not a new cylinder arrangement, nor a redesign of the turbo. It's something much more radical. Ferrari is making steel cylinder heads for its 2026 power unit. Yes, you heard right. In a sport where every gram counts, Ferrari is introducing a component that adds up to 30 kilograms to the car's overall weight. Because what could justify such a seemingly irrational decision? The answer lies in thermal efficiency. The 2026 regulations require 100% of fuel to be sustainable. This not only changes the origin of the fuel, but also its physical behavior. The combustion of these new compounds requires temperatures and pressures much higher than those currently available. And this is where steel comes into play. Unlike aluminum, which is the traditional material for cylinder heads due to its lightness, steel is capable of withstanding extreme temperatures without degrading or deforming. Ferrari, in close collaboration with AVL, an Austrian engineering company specialized in hybrid engines, has developed these cylinder heads with the aim of taking thermal performance to a new level. The theory is simple: the higher the combustion temperature, the higher the thermal efficiency. This allows more useful energy to be extracted from each drop of fuel, an advantage that will be critical in an era where electric motors will share the spotlight with thermal motors. But like any innovation in Formula One, this carries enormous risks. The first, obvious, is the additional weight. 30 kilos are not a minor detail. They are enough to completely alter the mass distribution of the car. And even more serious, this weight is concentrated in the upper part of the engine, raising the center of gravity, which can compromise the stability of the car, especially in fast corners and sudden changes of direction. Ferrari is no stranger to these problems. In fact, they have completely redesigned the engine architecture to counteract this effect. They have compacted the engine, reduced the size of the battery, optimized the cooling systems, and reinforced the engine chassis integration in a millimetric way. All this under the supervision of Loic Serra, in charge of dynamic integration, and with the support of key figures in the aerodynamic department such as Diego Tondi and Frank Sanchez. The idea is that each technical decision is offset by another, seeking a global balance that allows that extra weight not to become a competitive burden. And it's not just theory or simulation. In the first bench test, the results were devastating. The steel cylinder heads exploded under prolonged loading cycles. The pressure, the temperature, the fatigue of materials, everything seemed to indicate that the concept was not viable. The scenario was so critical that Ferrari ordered the development of a second set of cylinder heads, this time made of aluminum, as an emergency backup. But after months of adjustments, redesigns, static and dynamic tests, Ferrari decided to bet everything on steel. They abandoned the conservative path. They took the entire risk. They threw themselves into a design that, if it works, will give them an unprecedented thermal advantage. And if it fails, it will be an unprecedented catastrophe. This movement also has a deeper reading. Ferrari doesn't just want to win. He wants to dominate. He knows that in 2026 a new era begins. And this time they don't want to catch up with what everyone else is doing. They want to lead from the beginning. Be the ones who define the standard. And that requires making decisions that other teams don't even dare to consider. In a paddock where everyone is looking for safe evolution, Ferrari has chosen the dangerous revolution. And he has done it with such brutal confidence that it is frightening. Steel is not just a material. It is a declaration of intent. A sign that they are willing to sacrifice comfort, certainty, and immediate results for a long-term vision. To understand the magnitude of this problem, you have to imagine the car as a scale in constant equilibrium. Everything is designed to keep the weight as low as possible, low to the ground, with each component positioned based on how it affects the total mass and its distribution. When mass is added to the top of the car, as happens with steel cylinder heads that are heavier than aluminum cylinder heads, the center of gravity rises. And with that, the entire dynamic behavior of the car changes. A car with a high center of gravity is more unstable when cornering. It tends to lean more, to generate oversteer or understeer depending on how other design factors are combined. It can cause oscillations during braking, unbalance when loading lateral weight, and unpredictable responses when the car changes direction at high speed. These types of problems are not corrected with simple suspension or tire pressure adjustments. It requires a profound redesign of the entire architecture. Ferrari, together with AVL, had to redesign the engine's internal cooling flows. More complex heat treatments were introduced, mixing and injection pressure parameters were adjusted, and new gaskets and seals were designed to withstand prolonged thermal stress. Additionally, a completely new simulation protocol was developed to validate not only the performance, but the structural strength of the engine under real racing conditions. And as if that were not enough, Ferrari has also had to face the judgment of the FIA. Any radical innovation is thoroughly reviewed by the Federation, which may require additional safety testing or limit certain materials if they pose a danger or competitive imbalance. So far, the project has been approved, but with strict monitoring conditions. The most disturbing thing is that all this has been decided without a single lap of the track in real conditions. The SF26 has not yet been tested in the most brutal environment of all. The circuit, the dirty air of other cars, the constant stress of a race, aggressive driving under pressure. That's where invisible risks become real. The question that everyone in the paddock is asking is, has Ferrari calculated this risk correctly? Or are they playing with fire under the illusion of a thermal advantage that, in the end, may not compensate for the dynamic and reliability consequences? Because if the center of gravity becomes the car's Achilles heel, neither engine efficiency, nor redesigned suspensions, nor aerodynamic innovation will help. The car will be inherently unstable. And in modern Formula One, that means defeat. The internal combustion engine will not die in 2026, but it will be transformed into its core. Because with the arrival of the new technical regulations, Formula One enters a stage never seen before. An era where half of a car's power will come from electrical systems, and where fuels will be completely sustainable. And on this new game board, one of the biggest challenges is nowhere to be seen. It is hidden inside the engine's supercharging system. It is the return of the silent enemy, turbo lag. During the hybrid era that began in 2014, Formula One cars used a key component that eliminated this problem. The MGUH. This system allowed the turbo compressor to keep spinning at maximum speed even when the pilot was not accelerating. Thus, when the pedal was pressed again, the engine power responded instantly. There was no delay. The connection between the pilot's foot and the power delivery was direct, precise, surgical. In 2026, Ferrari could go one step further. That shaft that connects the turbo will divide the rotating mass into segments, using ultra-low friction ceramic bearings, which minimize the acceleration time of the assembly. The goal? To have an immediate response even without MGUH. If this system works, Ferrari will be able to offer acceleration behavior comparable to that of the MGUH years, but without its costs or complexity. It's a masterstroke, if it works. Leave me your opinion in the comments what you think about all this.